pick and roll with it. Make a pick and roll with it. Betting weekly. Fast break from coast to coast and way downtown. From coast to coast and way downtown. From coast to coast and way downtown.
Happy Hump Day. Welcome into a Wednesday edition of Betting Weekly Fast Break. I'm Doug Kezirian alongside pro handicapper Albert Nguyen, also known as Analytics Capper. We have 3 games in the WNBA to break down, including one really intriguing high-profile showdown, the first of 4. Yeah, the first of 4. We have the remainder of the season. We'll also recap a little bit last night, look ahead to some adjustments in some futures markets in terms of the yes, no to make the playoffs, things along those lines. How are you, my man?
I'm doing well, man. It's been a week or two since we've done a show, so I'm excited to talk to W with you. And this is when the pretenders and the contenders kind of separate themselves. So I'm excited to talk through it.
Yeah, I've had a really good stretch of a few days here. Had the I needed you on the show Monday. I had the Enrique prop to have the leading score. You know, I've been such a basher of her game. I needed someone to keep me in check, things like that. But no, it worked out. It was a plus 480 hit that was a dead heat rules because she co-led the game in scoring. So it turned out to be a plus 240. Nonetheless, a fun hit along those lines. But wild game in the W yesterday for sure. And, you know, all sorts of craziness happening on the court, from mascots getting injured to projectiles from the crowd that going viral. And then we also have upsets as well. So sizable upset and things along those lines. But the high profile game today, and we just want to remind everyone about the newsletter. It is free. If you like what you hear on our shows, sign up, get exclusive tips and the free Insider magazine. Sign up for free at bettingweeklystudios.com. So Liberty visit the Lynx. Minnesota has the best record in the W, but the Liberty are the betting favorites overall, barely, and also the defending champs. We do not have Breanna Stewart, so that's why the Lynx are 7.5-point favorites. This line has fluctuated a little bit between 7 and 8. Over under has gone up and down some couple points as well. 167 right now. Interesting scheduling spot. Both teams coming off a home loss. And I'm kicking myself for not looking ahead on the schedule. Now, I did fade the Liberty, and we talked about it on Monday's show, but I did not fade the Lynx against the Dream on Sunday. So both teams, good spot. Liberty held a players-only meeting. When you see those things, Albert, how much, if at all, does that impact your handicap?
It's a good question, Doug. I mean, it really depends on the season and what part or what juncture of the season these meetings happen. Obviously, Liberty is a team that's championship or bust. They haven't played up to their capabilities or potential all year long. They've been dealing with injuries. You mentioned it, Breanna Stewart is out. We just got word that Natasha Cloud might be out tonight because of an illness, which is, you know, another big key component to their team. When I see players only meeting, I don't see a big impact or influence long term. Maybe in the next game or two, maybe they'll try harder. They'll play they'll play a little cleaner. They'll be a little more in tune with each other. But long term, if you're not destined to win a championship, 1 or 2 players only meetings are not going to change that.
Yeah, sometimes I think it can be okay. I think it's like you said, it's case by case, right? So if it's nuanced, and if they sort of needed to recalibrate everything, I could get behind a response, because there's peaks and valleys of a season. And if there's a flat spot against a bad team, sometimes I think it's a great thing. It's like, okay, they're going to come out more fired up, because I've always said, and I heard this from somewhere else, and I've repeated, I should say, that the best thing to bet on in sports is a focused favorite. And if you can get a favorite that's focused, it's really about, almost removing the flat spot when you get these situations. Now, that's not the case with the Liberty. They are a road underdog, sizable one. But listening to Sabrina's comments, I don't know if the team meeting did a whole lot. I think it's more applicable when they are facing a team that's going to miss the playoffs, like the Dallas Wings or something like that. Not in this situation. They're already going to be up for this game. And I don't think they were going to show up with a lack of professionalism. I think both teams displayed a lack of professionalism in the last game when they were sizable home favorites and did not deliver. As for this game, with Cloud out, like I don't think the Liberty have that much firepower. I think Sabrina's guardable because her lack of speed. And you and I have talked about the evolution of wing defenders in this league. So she can be kept in check. Jonquel Jones needs to have a monster game. I just don't know if she will, but she did. She was allergic to the paint in the last game. I don't think that'll be the case here. But I just don't love the Lynx that much. And you and I have discussed it that this team is not loaded with, firepower and stars outside of Nafisa Collier. But I think the Liberty defense is that bad. So I would be looking at the Lynx, if anything, in this game.
Yeah, you make a couple good points. I would add to that. When we look at their franchise trajectory, right? Doug mentioned it. This is the Liberty team that's coming off a championship run. They know what it takes to win the title. Minnesota doesn't. So I would argue that Minnesota, would look at this game more with more motivation. They're going to be a little more focused. Doug also mentioned they're both coming off home losses. Well, the team that's going to be at home again tonight is Minnesota. So I think that's extra motivation as well to be a little more focused. I agree with you. I like Minnesota in this game. I think the line is going to move once the Cloud injury is finalized, whether it's confirmed or not. But we know she's not 100%. And even if she plays at less than 100%, they don't have enough offensive talent right now without Breanna Stewart to sustain and keep up with Minnesota. So I like Minnesota in this one. And I think, Sabrina only being the guard that, has a threat to score a ton of points for New York plays into Minnesota's hands. So I like the fact that it's 7.5 right now. Without Cloud, I would assume this is going to inch up to 8.5. So I would wait until that news comes down to really be finalized.
I'm gonna lock in the Lynx right now. The more I think about it, I do like the Lynx minus the 7.5. How many points would you need to take the Libs in this game with the spread?
Without Breanna Stewart and Collier being able to just eat inside, Jonquel Jones is back, but she's great. She's a great player, and she was such a big missing piece for the Liberty. But when I watch her play, she's not all the way back physically yet. So I would say this is a good opportunity for Collier to really eat and take advantage. I would say double digits, Doug. I'd say Liberty 9.5, 10 is when I would probably, maybe change my tune there. But Minnesota's at home. They're going to shoot a ton of threes. They're coming off a loss, even though New York is as well. But I just think Minnesota views these regular season games at a higher importance than New York does.
Yeah, I think it's a good spot. And my opinion of the Lynx is their number one weapon is Nafisa Collier. Okay. Their number two weapon is their offensive flow and sets. I think they're very well coached. I think they pass the ball great, and you end up with like a layup with 5 seconds to go on the shot clock or a McBride open three. I think what is needed to stymie them is hitting all your shots offensively, but really just awareness, familiarity, great anticipation. And I just don't know if the Liberty defense can do that in this game. Unless Phoebish, Jonquel, even Johannes go off, I don't see the Liberty being able to maintain. I think the Libs are too sloppy on defense. That's my concern. So really, I think the Lynx, team total, that kind of thing, I think they're going to kind of name their score in a lot of ways. And I was thinking about some overs, but if Cloud's out, now she's not a scorer, but she calms them. She has such a good presence and enables Sabrina to play off the ball. And if Sabrina's going to have to play point or run the offense through her, I think fatigue is going to be a factor because opposing teams like to involve her in a lot of pick and roll. So I think she hits a lot of walls in the second half. Now, in the last game, she had a great second half, but I think she was mailing it in or phoning it in the first half. So team total over 87.5 is tempting. So when you isolate team totals in these things, it's really important to ask yourself, would I be better off betting the team total than I would the spread. So in this case, say, is it more likely the Lynx have a high scoring game but don't cover? Because that's really what you're asking yourself, especially with the juice at 117.
Mm-hmm.
Or would it be better just to lay the 7.5? Because, think about it this way. Is there more likelihood they win or they score 88 and barely win, right? So 88, 83 win, right? So a win or over the team total, but don't cover. Or is it more likely they win 85, 75? So under the team total, but cover the point spread. So I think it's more likely that they do cover without going over the team total. So I would play the minus 7.5 over instead of the team total. I like both. I like both, but I think the 7.5 is a good number at this point.
Yeah, I think you went around in a circle and then you found the ending there, and I agree with you. I think I like the spread a little bit more. I do think this is one of the cases where both will hit, but I'm a lot more confident in the spread. The other thing I wanted to bring up is rest advantage. Although they're both coming off losses, New York did play Monday. Minnesota played on Sunday. So that's one extra additional rest day, and they're at home. So I think not only the injuries, not only the rest advantage, but the motivation factor. I mean, all of those signals, if you will, point towards Minnesota or no play at all. I'm going to stick to one play tonight. I don't know if this is going to meet the threshold, but I do like Minnesota tonight.
Right. What do you mean by it? You don't know if it meets the threshold?
If I'm going to select one WNBA play, I got to love it at all angles. And the reason why let's make an argument for the Liberty. Brianna Stewart is out. Potentially Natasha Cloud is out. They're coming off a loss. Everybody's kind of writing them off. A lot of people, Doug mentioned their players only meeting. There's negative vibes, right? And so when there's negative, news and negative, vibes around the team, the casual bettor likes to focus on the other side. I kind of like to focus on potentially finding angles. And I would say the correlation tonight is if you like the Liberty, you're most likely going to like the under as well, because they're not going to be able to run and sustain their offense to keep up with the Lynx. So I would do something like a Liberty and under as a same game parlay to get, really nice odds. Or if you don't want to do that, I think the safest play is the Lynx.
All right. Well, there's some, I forget the term. Game combos. That's what it is. You can do Liberty and under with the spread, and that is plus 255. So that is offered on the Bet Rivers app. We also have some other. You mentioned same game parlay. We'll give WNBA same game parlays a shot tonight with the second chance parlay promotion. Opt in and get up to 50% of your bet back if your 3-leg WNBA same game parlay loses, I should say. See the Bet Rivers app for more details. So that's some option. The only pushback or whatever you want to call it on that angle, Albert, is do you think that the Liberty could reload with some of their bench players and win a high scoring game with Johannes, or at least cover when you have Johannes in there? Mieselman might be back tonight. There's components of that. Obviously, Cloud is the kind of calming hand in that lineup, but I don't know if they're going to all of a sudden, get sluggish and slug it out.
I would say the 3-point shot is the great equalizer. So if New York is shooting, abnormally at a higher rate than they usually are for the season, then yes, they're going to have a chance. The other angle I wanted to mention, Doug, is this is going to be the first of 4 matchups. It's also the first matchup since the finals last year. So I think this is more of a revenge spot for Minnesota. The more I talk about it, this is most likely going to be an official play before the line moves up to 8, 8.5. But let's do it. Let's me and Doug on the same side. Official Minnesota minus 7.5. I think it's a great revenge spot for them. First game since the finals that they're going to face this team that beat them. And then I also think this could be, we talk about this in the NBA all the time, but those Heisman moments, if you will, those Kodak moments. And I think Collier, who has the MVP in the bag, I think she's going to have a big night tonight to really confirm that.
Good point. Obviously, high profile games do move the needle. Her, and this game's on ESPN, we should mention as well. her futures market is obviously been pretty swayed in terms of the awards market. She's minus 2,000 right now at Bet Rivers to win the MVP. And you and I, about a month ago or so, when it was like 220, we were saying this is value. If you want to tie up your money,
Agreed.
this seems like a lock. Now, Alyssa Thomas has made things interesting, and because I got hosed on my 50-1 tickets a couple years ago, I hope she never wins when I don't have money on it, because it would just kill me even more. Not that I'm already not heartbroken over all that, but I do think it'd be really shocking. There's a career achievement component to this. Now, AT might maybe next year, and it has to be a really change things up or an injury. But I think Fee's got this almost locked up. But I like your call, the Heisman moment. But I was going to allude to that. You mentioned the revenge factor. I do think, and this definitely happens in the NBA, but because of the standings, I think the W, and especially a team that's been ravaged with injuries like New York, I don't think these teams care that much about the 1 seed or home court advantage. Like, I think the Liberty are perfectly fine going into the playoffs as long as they're healthy as like a 4 seed or something like that. Now, the Lynx, beginning of the year, do remind me of that Spurs team that lost on the Ray Allen 3. The series gets extended, goes 7 with the Heat, and they lose, and they come back the next year and win it all. The Lynx do seem determined, 1 seed. Cheryl Reeve doesn't mess around. She's much more of an intense coach than I would imagine Sandy Brontello is. So I just think you're right. All the check marks are on the side of the Lynx in terms of like wanting this game more. And I think they'll be crisp tonight. And I don't think the Liberty defense will be, because that's what Minnesota needs. Minnesota needs to back cut, pick and pop, slip screens, and then they get wide open shots. And in order for me to back the Lynx and lay this kind of lumber, I have to believe they're going to get those looks. And I think they will.
Speaking of Cheryl Reeve, this is another subplot, if you will. New York signed, that Belgian forward Miseman a week or two ago. Cheryl Reeve came out the first day. It was like she made the wrong choice. She chose the wrong team, and I think this is extra motivation for not only the Minnesota Lynx but also for that coaching staff. They were so close to winning it all last year. I think the right team ended up winning, and we'll see if Minnesota, being the hungrier team this year, the more motivated team this year, will win these regular season games. I think the more I talk about it, I'd love 7.5. Yeah, maybe we should start talking, the other side, just so we can counter argue that. But Minnesota 7.5 coming off a loss seems really, really good. They've been the best team all season long, with or without injuries. And at their peak, at this point in the season, they can, like you mentioned, they can name their score and beat a Liberty team by double digits pretty easily.
So let's talk about the other side. I do think there's some firepower on the Liberty with Johannes, and then Sabrina could go off, and let's say Mieselman does play, and Jonquel could have a big game. I mean, she has a size advantage over a lot of players, and she's a finals MVP. You mentioned she's a really good player. Yeah, no doubt. I just don't know if their defense is going to be locked in. I really like this. Let me ask you this. I said the other night that it was a big money line. And I said, the Storm are not losing. Now they were up 35 and they won by 15 against the Sun. I just thought I personally bet the money line as well. Would you look at the money line here? It's in the $3 neighborhood. There's no other big favorite to put it with. It's minus 315 right now at Bet Rivers. I think the 315 is fair. So I don't know if there's like value, but I'd be shocked if the Liberty came in here and won this game the more we talk about the game.
If this was my own money, right? Like, it's hard to present on the public show that I'm going to bet minus 300, right? Because a lot of people look at that and say it's no value, but there's different angles to value. If you truly believe that the Lynx have far and away the advantage tonight, Liberty being limited not only from a rest disadvantage but from injuries, they're on the road, they're facing a team that they just beat in the finals last year. So I think there's value, right? Because at the end of the day, juice matters, but juice doesn't matter when you win, whether it's minus 120 or minus 320, right? But obviously, if you lose a bet like that, minus 315, it's going to take 4 bets to get it all back, to get back to the green. So I would say if you risk a play that's in the minus high hundreds, 300 to 400, I would lower my unit down, right? And so if your normal unit is one unit or 2 units per bet per WNBA game, then I would do the Minnesota Lynx at a third of a unit or a quarter of a unit.
Yeah, I mean,
I think
usually,
every little bit, every win, whether it's big or small, adds up, right? So if you're doing a quarter of a unit on a money line on the links and you're barely winning anything, that to me still adds up. And that to me is, again, this is my school of thought, is that's true handicapping. Like, I'm not trying to win 50 units in one night. I would love the incremental value where I'm winning, half a unit or a quarter unit every single day. And when I, look up from and trying to grab air because I'm so into the weeds when it comes to these bets. After 20 days, I'm at 15 units and I have no complaints, right? And so that's how I view it as handicap.
yeah, being up 1 unit's impressive. And, I'm going to pull a muscle, patting myself on the back. But look, I rode the Lynx all last year. I was ahead of them. Their win total was like 19.5. They get to the finals. Like you said, I won over 100 units last year, and that's never repeated. And that's just in the WNBA. But this year, I started slow because I was almost chasing that figure and thinking, so you just had to kind of bring the oars in. I'm up like 32 now, after a good run recently. But yeah, like, betting, just grinding wins is what this game is all about. It's not about the 4-leg home run parlay that social media might have a ton of. I know Nigel and the crew grinded out. We grinded out on the other show, Betting Weekly Hardball. So I'm all for doing it the right way. I just feel like the Liberty are good enough to pull this off with smoke and mirrors. And the Lynx, let's face it, and I said this earlier, yeah, they have fringe all-stars in addition to Colliers and MVP, but like, they can miss shots and go cold, and it gets frustrating. But, I just don't want to go to the bank with minus 315 with Courtney Williams a bunch. I just don't know if that's the right way to do it. So I feel like the money line is fair, and I'm not pulling the trigger, but I wouldn't take the dog on the money line. I don't think they're going to eke it out, so to speak.
You and I, we've had a few text messages back and forth in terms of like comparing WNBA players to NBA players, right? Just to be fun. And the more I think about it, why is this not the same young Kevin Garnett Minnesota Timberwolves team? You have this heliocentric superstar that plays great on offense and defense, does a little bit of everything, and then fringe all-stars, whether it's Cassell or Spreewell or Terrell Brandon. This is very similar to the early 2000s Minnesota Timberwolves.
Yeah, I mean, the city, right? Like, the city got Sam Cassell component with Courtney Williams, just because she's so flashy in terms of her personality, right? That's got some Cassell written over it. I always say that Fee is more like baby Jokic because she can play inside and outside. More so, you can't speed her up. That's one of Jokic's great traits, and that's what Collier's is as well. So and the inside outside component, and you can run the offense through her at the high post or the low post. The skill set reminds me of Jokic in so many ways. But to your point, Minnesota, obviously the parallel there. All right, so you and I both like the Lynx. Any props? Like, nothing screams. I will say, I mean, I don't want to have to sweat out Sabrina threes all the time, but the top point scorer getting plus money on Fee is tempting at plus 140. Um, that would be the only play, or Jonquel at set plus 700. That would be the only way I would play that prop.
I would like Jonquel, to be honest. I think they're going to be able to shut down Sabrina. Again, this is more conjecture, and hopefully I'm right because we're on the Lynx, but I think it's much easier to defend Sabrina without Breanna Stewart. And so hopefully Minnesota's perimeter defense can step up and do that. But Sabrina can shoot from anywhere. And if she gets hot, even though she's off balance or, late in the shot clock and she's throwing it up, she has the talent to make a couple of those shots. And those are, potentially could keep them in the game.
Okay. Okay. So anything I'll do 0.1 unit on Jonquel. It's plus 700 to be the game's top scorer. I'll ride the heat wave of my victory on Enrique. Keep in mind, I mentioned it. Sorry, I should mention that Liberty have failed to cover the point spread in 7 straight road games. I got that off the Bet Rivers website. Now, they're mostly favorites in that situation, and they're big dogs, but should mention that. And 9 of the last 11 home games for the Lynx have gone over the total. Something to keep in mind. I know we liked the team total. So 2 other games on the docket tonight. These tickets cash just the same, so let's not forget about these. The night gets going with the Phoenix Mercury at the Indiana Fever. Still no Caitlin Clark. This line has been back and forth between 3 and 4. It's now at 3.5. Road favorite here. Over-unders moved a couple points here and there. It's 167 28.5. So the exact same over-under we have in Minnesota. I think the Fever are an interesting team when they play certain opponents. I wonder if the Mercury's not the right opponent. I would lay it here if I had to, but it's a little too many points. I'd want to lay 2. So I'm going to pass on this game. What about you?
I think the line is a little fishy to me, unless we believe Indiana without Caitlin Clark is a really good team. Obviously, they've won, I think, the last 2 without her, right? Chicago and Vegas. Yeah,
they're a playoff team.
They are a playoff team. But Phoenix is coming off a game where they took care of the Mystics, but prior to that, I think they were on a 3 or 4 game losing streak.
Yeah.
So, it's tough to get a read on Phoenix, but I feel like they're, even with Caitlin Clark in the lineup, if she was playing tonight, Phoenix to me is the deeper team that has a little more versatility. There's a lot of excitement, or a lot of talk now around Sophie Cunningham. People are calling it the summer of Sophie. I don't know if you've seen this. She's gotten like 4 or 5 huge, mega deals in terms of endorsements. She just got her own podcast today. She's becoming Hollywood, and whether that's a good thing or a bad thing, we'll wait and see. I mean, it's always good. I'm always pro player when it comes to them getting their bag, but I think this is a type of game where Phoenix comes out and just blows them out, and the world is back to where it's supposed to be without Caitlin Clark.
Right. I think the better play is just Phoenix's point total. I think. I do think Indiana's offense is really good when they're on. And I think running it through Kelsey Mitchell is impressive. And I think Phoenix can score at will on this Fever defense. I was on the Fever as a double-digit favorite at Chicago on Sunday, and they didn't have any intensity. Now, that happens when the team's best player's out, like Angel Reese was, but I just don't think their calling card is defense. Yeah, we saw it in the Commissioner's Cup and the game after that against the Aces, but for the most part, this team is not really like defensive focused. They think they can just outshoot you and score you. So I'll go Mercury team total over 85.5. I worry sometimes the offense bogs down, but with so much shooting with Sabally and Whitcomb, and AT can get to the rack whenever she wants, I think over 8.5 is the way. And Indiana, even without Caitlin Clark, wants to push the ball. So I'm going to play Phoenix over 85.5 here, because I do think there's a world where the Mercury don't cover this, because if the Fever just shoot lights out. But I think we're poised for a high scoring game.
Yeah, I mean, I can't really talk you off of that. I think Phoenix is the better team, especially without Caitlin Clark. So that makes a lot of sense to me. And if they're going to be able to get, offensive rebounds in this game, I think they're going to be able to kick it out for open threes. And if that happens, I think your team total is going to cash pretty easily.
I mean, I worry that their defense, their physicality on defense just shuts down. I just don't see that. I think Kelsey Mitchell's too good. I really think she's an awesome player. And I also say this: your first game out with a star, that's one thing. But if you've been playing without someone for a while, you're kind of adjusted to a certain extent at this point. So they're comfortable. They know where Kelsey is on the court, things along those lines. So there's some familiarity there. And I think Boston can go off. I think she's really good. I was off on her when I first saw her playing. I thought she couldn't play alongside Caitlin and all that stuff. But no, she's a legit. She's money in the bank from like 12 feet in. She's got a lot of Patrick Ewing game in her. She can hit the baseline jumper, the free throw line jumper with ease. Really solid footwork on the post. Just love her game across the board. I think Mac's a good defender for Phoenix, so it'll be a nice matchup. But Boston and Mitchell are a nice 1-2 combo, even without Caitlin Clark. So I think the Fever could definitely score here. I think this will be a fun, fast-paced game.
Yeah, people don't forget that, or people forget that Boston was the Rookie of the Year a few years back. She has great touch around the hoop, and she's always been a little undersized from a height perspective, right? And so I think that has really forced her hand on being able to finish with both sides of the rim, both sides of the hand. And I think Doug mentioned it; he hit it right on the spot. I think Boston's been a great, I wouldn't say an unexpected performance this year, but I think it affirms her Rookie of the Year year, but also it shows that she can play with or without Caitlin Clark.
Yeah, I just like her game, and the footwork's always been impressive. So I think we see a fun game. It's a fun handicap in the other one in Dallas. So you got the Wings hosting the Dream. Atlanta loses yesterday as a sizable home favorite of like 8 to the Valkyries. It was just the Dream coming off a giant win in Minnesota, handing the Lynx their first home loss of the year, and then getting the Valkyries off a 30-point loss. Just the worst spot possible for the Dream. And they had the game tied. They had a great fourth quarter, only allowed about 6 points, but did not get the win. And so now they visit Dallas. The Wings are off a big win themselves. So one team off a bad loss, the other team off a big win, but the other team's also back to back, and it's a road game. It's a really tricky handicap. I would lean to the Dream here, but I mean, are we sure Beckers is playing? Are we sure Agumbawale is playing?
I think both are playing as of right now at 2:30
Yeah.
Central Time. They were both in practice this morning. I'd say this: both teams are on a third game in 4 nights part of the schedule. But the biggest difference here is the Dream have been on the road for these games, whereas the Wings, this is the third game at home in a row. Doug mentioned it. Paige was out the first game of the home series. She played the second game, and she was unbelievable. And not only her, Arike, I know you mentioned it. Arike had 14 assists the last time out, 20 points, 14 assists. That is a great game. She basically just had 2 of the best games of the season for her individually back to back, raising that trade value, if you will. Let's see if they're actually going to move her or not. But if she plays like this, she'll be a great person to be next to Paige. With that said, I actually like Dallas today. So
Really?
yeah. So Lynx -7.5 was an official play. I'm actually going to be Dallas here. So the other side against Doug. I like Dallas. I think a lot of people are going to expect a bounce back from the Dream just because they're coming off a loss. The second night of a back-to-back is tough. Third game in 4 nights on the road is really tough. And the Wings, since the All-Star break, unfortunately, we were on the win total under there, and they've won back-to-back games, which is funny to think about. But I think they might win a third in a row tonight. I think there's belief in this team, and I think if Arike can be efficient like she's been the last 2 games, then that's the reason why they're competitive. It's when Arike goes 1 for 11 or 3 for 14. That's when the team, goes off the rails. But when she's playing like this and letting Paige do her thing, because Paige is just so good, Dallas always has a great chance in the end.
Okay, so I think we're going to see a high-scoring game. Atlanta road games, I don't have it in front of me, but they almost always go over. They push the pace. They have the 3-point shooting, and I know Ryan Howard's out, but this Dream team's going to cook, and this Wings defense stinks, and they want to push the ball. I think this is like 5 points off on a first half total. I'm going to go first half over 82 -114.
Nice.
I just feel like it's an incredibly low scoring, low number for how the Wings like to play their games. They want to get out with Beckers and Arike and Chuck and Duck. I think the Dream are going to score at will in the first half. And I do think the Wings are going to apply pressure and stuff, but I like 82. So I think I just think we're going to come out. I worry about the 3 games and 4 nights thing. So that's why I want to just do the first half pace. But I think the Dream they locked up defensively in the second half, particularly the fourth quarter. But this is a team that wants their offense moving. Alicia Gray, who I think is going to be most improved player of the year, she should have a big game, and the bigs should be able to eat against the Dallas bigs. I don't think much of the Wings, unless they play McCowan and start her or whatever. But
No.
I think we're going to see a back and forth track meet here.
Yeah, Griner and Brianna Jones should eat tonight. And without any rim protection for Dallas, not that there's that much rim protection anyways in this league, but this is going to be a lot easier for Atlanta to get into the paint and score. So I agree. I like that first half look a lot more than the full game, just because of the potential of fatigue.
I mean, I would have made it like 85.5, 6.5. Like, I think this lands 87 range. Any props? We haven't heard from Sabali in a while. Any games that catch your eye in terms of props? Things along those lines. I mean, that's another game, obviously, that going back to the Fever Mercury game, but anything along those lines?
I would focus on this game we just talked about. One of the big players, Brianna Jones or Griner on Atlanta. I will look into their rebounds prop because teams kind of take advantage of Dallas's lack of size, and I believe they believe they put Lee on the bench now. Like they traded for her, and then she started for a
Right.
few games. They played a lot better, but I think fatigue, and I think she's dealing with some nagging injuries. She's the backup center today. So I think all that is going to help Atlanta. We mentioned it, and their interior presence.
Yeah, they've been playing small ball. That's right. They have is it Geisel Soder, who's like a 25-year-old rookie, I believe. Or maybe I'm confused, but yeah, she's been bombing threes. So you're right. They should get killed on the boards. What do you make of Brianna Jones, 6.5? Brittany Griner, 5.5, both overs, plus money on Jones. Griner's interesting because she did not play at the end of the game when it was a tie game and stuff like that. They had Jones play center. That could have just been adjusting to Valkyrie's lack of size. But now I'm like, my interest is certainly peaked. Brianna Jones, I don't know if you guys remember, beginning of the year, we were giving out her rebounds props, overs left and right. She's going double digits. That's not the case. But now I'm intrigued by either her or Griner in this matchup because if they go small, Liberty do, I think Jones is the piece that Atlanta might match with and go small as well.
Yeah, she would be the player out of those two that will stay on the court. Whereas Brittany Griner, I think last week she had 2 great games, especially the return back to Phoenix. I think she had a double that game, and then the very next game she also had a good game. But against the Golden State Valkyries, I think she only logged 19 or 20 minutes maximum, only had 3 rebounds. And whether she's hurt or not, she is older, right? She isn't second back 9 of her career. And I would say Brianna Jones would be the player I would target if you're doing rebounds prop.
Yeah, I mean, over 5.5, which is 6+ rebounds, it's minus 152. So the 6.5, over 6.5, so 7+ is plus 110. But if you want to go 1 rebound less, it's minus 152. So that's 62 cents. That's a lot. But obviously these props and the markets get so tight. So tempting. You could do a same game parlay, something like that. Add that as a leg, something to think about. Just want to remind everyone, tennis season's still going on, even though it's not a Grand Slam. We have the round of 32 at ATP Toronto. Betting Weekly game bet match with Nigel and Sean. Nigel Seeley and Sean Calvert just posted this morning. So go check that out as they discuss their favorite matchups and things along those lines. We are Betting Weekly Fast Break every single weekday, especially with the WNBA season in full gear. This is 3 p.m. Eastern, noon Pacific. We also have Betting Weekly Hardball Monday through Friday, and that is 2 p.m. Eastern, 11 a.m. Pacific. And I like these midweek shows because they discuss live games on Wednesdays and Thursdays, and we also discuss the games coming up at night. So good content across the board. And I know that there is a lot of options out there on the betting board, so we like to break it down, and we like to think we know our way around, and we're not just throwing stuff up against the wall and shouting at the screen.
Yeah, so you want to go through our best bets of the night?
Yeah, let's do that as we wrap up the show. This is your final time on the show. Did you look at tomorrow's card at all? I mean, there's one game I just was curious. You have the Mystics hosting the Valkyries. Valkyries off that monster win in Atlanta. Mystics have been taking care of business. Any early lean there or anything like that? Because I'll be on the show tomorrow with Wes. Just curious if you had one for our audience.
I would lean Mystics there. I'm still not a believer in Golden State when it comes to their success on the road. Yes, they just beat the Dream. We're 8.5-point underdogs and won outright. This is going to be their 3rd straight road game. I would fade Golden State, in my opinion.
I think the Mystics are pretty solid when they're full strength. Remember, they had 3 All-Stars, which is pretty crazy for a team that was, I think out of the playoffs at the time. Let's recap our best bets as we wrap up the show. We both like the Minnesota Lynx minus 7.5 at home against the New York Liberty with the defending champs, the shorthanded defending champs in town. And then I only have one other play for you, the Dallas Wings plus 3.5 as a home dog to the Atlanta Dream. Am I missing anything for your top plays?
Nope, those 2 are my official plays, and let's go 2-0 tonight.
Okay, so I have the Lynx, as I mentioned. I'm going to go first half over 82 in that Dream Wings matchup. And then I'm going to play the Mercury's team total over 85.5 as well. And then that one flyer I'm going to have on John Quell to be the game's leading scorer when the Lynx play the Liberty at plus 700 for 0.1 unit. That'll just be a 0.1 unit play, trying to build off my success from Enrique on Monday night. So that's going to do it. Thanks to Albert Nguyen and everyone else behind the scene who does all the heavy lifting, producing, directing, graphics. Obviously we get to be forward facing here on the show, but so much behind the scenes as well. We'll see you back here tomorrow. Wes Reynolds and I, both Thursday and Friday, breaking down the cards each day, and we'll see how our best bets today. But until then, best of luck to everyone.